I welcome all of you to the day third of my 3-day online course on best practices for writing a research paper fast and easy. On the third day, we are going to talk about how to publish a research paper. In the first day, we talked about some of the basics of of research and basically the basics of the differences in a research paper and a review paper. On the second day, we talked about various parts of the research paper and how you are going to write each part of them. Today, on the third day, I will tell you that how you can publish that paper. Now you know now you know what is a paper, how to write it. Now you need to get it published somewhere. So that is what I am going to tell you on the third day. So first we will talk about where you can publish a paper. Then we will talk about types of journals, and finally we will try to understand some publishing terms like impact factor, H index and I10 index. So let's start our today's session. So when we think about where we can publish a research paper, so there are two major points that you have. One is of a conference and the other is of a journal. Now there are various types of conferences and also various types of journals. We will talk about each of them one by one. First, we are going to talk about the types of conferences. It is normally said like when you are in your bachelor's or when you are in your master's. At that time, normally we send our paper to a conference. But once when we go for a PhD, it is always told to send your paper to a journal. At that time conferences don't make much an impact as that of a journal. Now, if you have to send your paper in a conference, so what you have to check? So what are the things that you are going to check before sending your paper in a conference? First is the theme of that conference. It is really important that you send your paper to a conference who has the same theme as of your paper. Why? So the basic motive of organizing a conference is to bring the like-minded people at a same place, right? If you are working in the field of management and you go for a conference that has a theme of management, then all those people that you or will meet there will be of the same field. So it would be a very good chance for the networking part. It will be a very good chance for that you get to meet same field people. So this is gonna help you in many places, and that is why theme of the of the conference should meet the theme of your paper. They both should be kind of similar. Then the other things of a conference is that in a, in a, in a conference we get to publish small part of the work. Like you have done a big work, you will break that work into smaller parts and then you will send that thing to a conference. Why so? Cause the conference has a page limit of 5 to 6 pages. In that 5 to 6 pages you have to write all of the things about your work. So we cannot show our whole work in those 5 to 6 pages, and that is why we show only a part of the work as a part of a conference paper. So here comes the next advantage. You get to meet a lot of people from your field, one thing. And second thing, you get to know those guys who are working in your field and what they are working. You also know this. You meet them and you also know what kind of work they are doing. So it can be a very good place for your future collaborations. Like you know that guy is working on this topic, so if you in future if you also feel like working on the same thing, then you can talk to that guy or whoever. So this conference is a very nice place to meet network, and in order to do that it is really important that the theme of the conference should match the theme of your paper. Now the second thing that you have to know is the organizer of that conference. The various organizers of the conference are the IITs, NITs, IEEE, Springer, the other associations like IESSE or the local bodies. So what happens with this? I will be just talking about the first two. Take an example of an IIT organizing a conference, right? You always wanted to visit that IIT and to see what's there and meet some prof that sits there or works there. So a conference being held in the same IIT is a very good chance for you to go and actually fulfill that dream or thought, to visit that place and also maybe meet that person. This is actually a good way for the students who are planning to do the PhD and postdoc. Why? Because when we go and physically meet that person, we have a chance to talk to them for a PhD or a postdoc. So this will be very helpful for them. Now coming on to IEEE Springer and the other associations. What happens that when you have a IEEE conference or a Springer conference, your paper comes in their database and comes online in a short time of 5 to 6 months, right? So anyhow our ultimate aim is to get that paper online, so that more and more people can read that, and you can get a citation, right? So this helps in that, IEEE has its own database called as the IEEE Explore, where all your papers are uploaded. So this might be a very good chance for you to get your paper to be added in that database. So these were the two things that you have to check while submitting a paper to a conference, right? Now, what to check? Two more things you have to check for a conference. What will happen after the conference? Now, what things you can do during that conference? I have told with you. You can meet the like-minded people and all that stuff. Now, what will happen after that conference? Every conference gives out a book of proceedings, right? Some conference also send your paper to a journal. You might have been known this thing also. So if your paper is goes till just the proceedings, it's fine. Your paper will anyhow come online. Good. But if that conference also plans to send it to a journal, it is again a very good thing. But let me tell you, it rarely happens that a conference sends a paper to a journal which has a very nice impact factor. This is also a case sometimes. So these two things also you have to check before you send your paper to a conference. Now coming on to the journals. There are three types of journals. One is the limited access journal. The second is the open access journal, and third we all know as the fake or the predatory journal. So we'll talk about all of this, but I would like to tell you one thing is that you have to make sure that you be safe from this third type. Cause if you send your paper to a fake or a predatory journal, then trust me, your work is gone and you will not get any credit for that, and maybe in a future you might get a fraud case also. This is also a possibility. Okay, so now coming on to the first thing, the limited access journals. Here we don't have to pay any cost to get our paper in that journal. This is a sure thing. But for that what happens, they have a very hard peer review. They try their best to make sure that your paper fits in the scope of the journal, right? I will tell you that how you can search or select a journal. I will tell you about this. So these kind of journals have very strong peer review. They do their best to make sure that your paper is the best version of the work, and in this process sometimes it takes even 1 year to get your paper in that journal. 1 full year. Third thing, for a limited access journal, it is the readers who have to pay the money to read the manuscript. Like you have your paper in a journal. Now, if somebody wants to read that paper, so the re- so the re- so the re- so the reader has to buy the sub, subscription of that journal, and they have to pay money to read your paper. They don't take any charges from the author, but they take the charges from the reader. So these are the things of a limited access journals. So here is an example of a limited access journal. As you can see on their website, they have mentioned their IF, their impact factor, and also their site score, right? So as you can see here, after every journal they have this thing called as the purchase PDF. So this tells you that that you have to pay for these papers. So this is one of the example of a limited access journal. Now coming on to the open access journal. Here also they have a very strong peer review, but the cost is to be given by the authors, and the readers do not have to pay the money to access the manuscript. So they charge you a very high amount. For our country like India, the cost can be around 1 lakh for a single paper. So open access journals are really very costly. I'm telling you this. So this is a website which tells you about the open access journals. The name is doag.org. Here you can search the journals according to your subject, right? So as you can see here in these journals, they have this lock which is opened, right? So this shows that all these articles that they have shown here are open access journals. Okay, now about predatory or fake journals. They have no peer review process, nothing at all. They will tell that yes, we do this kind of peer review, that kind of, or whatever, but they actually don't have. They are not free. They charge you some amount of money, that might be whatever, but they charge you. Plus there is a list of these kind of journals, that is called as the Beall's list of journals, or the Dolos list of predatory journals. So like you find a journal, right? Now you want to check that whether this is a fake journal or not. So you can check its name in this list, that whether the name of those journals is in this list or not. You have to make sure, you can check, right? So what to look in a journal, how to select a journal, how we know that this journal is right for us or not. So the very first thing that you have to see is the theme, aim, or the scope of the journal. The scope of the journal should match the scope of your paper. If they don't match, then your paper will be sent back in the very first stage, right? The second thing that you have to see is that where is that journal indexed. I will talk about this, that whether that journal has an IF, means that impact factor, or SCJR. This stands for Scopus journal ranking. Then you have to see the site score of that journal. I will talk about what is the site score. Then you have to see the time for the first decision. Like you have submitted a paper in that in that journal, fine. Now they take some amount of time to finalize that whether they have to whether they have to accept your to accept your paper or not. That is called as the time for the first decision. Please make sure that the time for the first decision is actually small as compared to the others. Like see, you have selected a journal which has a time for the first decision of 200 days, right? You submitted you submitted your paper in that in that journal. Now after 200 days they are going to tell you that whether they are going to accept your means ke paper or not. And this is the very first stage. After this they are going to send your paper for peer review. So that comes the afterwards, after the first day, after the first decision. So you have to make very sure that the time for the first decision should be as less as possible. Then next thing that you have to see is that the open access charges. You can try to get your journal published in a free journal, okay? And if your company or your guide or your institution is paying for the open access, only then go for an open access of the journal. Because what happens if you don't look at this, if you don't consider this as a factor, once when your paper has been accepted by that journal, it becomes very difficult to pull it back. So then you might have been left with no other choice than to pay that fees. And if you don't pay that fees and you send that and you think to send that paper to some other journal, then it would be your loss only, because then they are going to say that when we already had your paper, how can you send that to some other place? So please make sure that go for an open access only if your institute is going to pay for that, unless don't go for that. So now talking about the indexing. So there are two main types of indexing. One is the Scopus and second is the Web of Science. For Scopus index journals, we have an SCJR factor, right? And for the Web of Science index journals, we have an impact factor. Now these days we have one more type of indexing called as the UGC KL list, right? So this is the third type. Now I'm going to give you a very nice table that can help you to means gonna select a journal. So you have to make this kind of table. In the first column you have to write the journal name. Then you have to write about the indexing of the journal, then whether it has an impact factor or the SJR factor. Then you have to write the time for first review, if the cost of open access. And once when you have all of these entries and you have 5-6 journals in your mind where you can send your paper, then you can finalize the order of the preference, that where do you want to send it first. If it doesn't get accepted there, then you can send it to the second one. If it not, then you can send it to the third one. So if you make this kind of table, it will become very easy for you to finalize where do you have to send your paper at the first place. Okay. Now how can you check if your journal is predatory or not? So the first thing that you have to do is to check the journal name with the indexing database. See, like as the website of the journal says that it is indexed with the Web of Science. Fine. Then you have to go at that database and see that whether the name of the journal is there or not. Here you have to check everything. The ISSN number of the journal should match with the database. First thing, name of the journal should match fully. Like you cannot even the spellings should match. Even small things like the. I remember a journal. What happened that on their website, the name had a the in it, TTHE the, but on that database the was not there. When I emailed the journal, then they said to check it with the ISSN number. Don't do that. If it is really indexed, how can they make even a spelling mistake? If you see even this much minor kind of difference, you can have that kind of doubt that maybe this journal is a fake journal or not. First you have to check with the database. Everything should match. Name, ISSN number, the factor they have shown, like the impact factor they have shown on their website, and what is on that database. Third thing, and the name of the editor also. Name of the editor should also match. This thing is also really very important. First way to check if it is a predatory or not. Second, you have to check the editorial board. They have said that this person is the editor of our journal. Fine. This person comes from that lab or that university. Good. Go to that site of that lab and that university. to check if that person is actually a part of that lab or that college or what or that whatever. So you can do this with their editorial board. You have to track them, that whether they can be traced or not. Apart from this, a journal should have a valid email ID and sometimes even a contact number. Then the fees policy of that journal should be told to you. If it is a paid journal, if it is an open access journal, or if it is a free journal. These things should be told to you on the website of the journal. You have to make sure about this. Next step. Find the name of the journal in the Beall's list and Dolos list. If you find the name of the journal in any of these listings, please be sure that this is a fake or a predatory journal. I am being very honest with you. You have to be sure. Now, coming on to some of the terms called as the impact factor or also called as the journal impact factor. So what it is? It is an index that tells the average number of citations on the articles of that journal in the last 2 years. Like when I try to find out the IF factor for 2020 for a particular journal, then I will find out that in the year 2018 how many publications came out from that journal, how many citations were on those publications, then how many came in 2019 and how many citations came in that year on those on those papers. Then you take an average of all of this, and finally you find out the impact factor of that journal. Impact factor is of last 2 years, right? Now coming on to the site score. Site score is similar to that of an impact factor, but in the case of site score we take the data of the last 3 years. For an IF factor we take the data of the 2 years, and for site score we take the data of the last 3 years, right? Now H index, you might have heard about this very commonly. So H index is not for a journal, it is for an author or a scholar, right? This is a method to check the productivity and the impact of that publications that come out from a scientist or a scholar, right? How to calculate this? Like so let us suppose you have five papers in your hand. The first one has 5 citations, the second one has third one has 6, fourth one has just 4 citations, and fifth one has 3 citations. So a common term along all of these is 3, and here is when it comes your H index. So your H index is 3. Fine. Like if you want to wish to join a college, like for for an assistant prof or something like this. Then what they actually like to be your site of your index should be from 3 to 5 for for an assistant professor. For an associate professor, it should be around 7 to 9, right? And to become a prof, it should be around 10 to 12, your H index. These are the standards. These are, I will not say the fixed standards, but unspoken standards of what we follow in our country and might be all over the world. Now coming on to the I-10 index. I-10 index is simply how many papers of yours have more than 10 citations. Simple that thing. Here again an example, like you have five papers with you. The first one has 20, the second one has 11, the third one has 6, the fourth one has 4, and the fifth one has 3 citations. So 2 of your papers have more than 10 citations. So your I-10 index is 2. Fine. So this was the third day of the course. So here we end our course, where we talked about how to start to write your paper on the first day. Then on the second day we talked about how to write your paper. We talked about the various parts of your paper, and today on the third day we talked about where you can publish that paper, right? So with this, my three-day course ends, and since I'm not able to do this course in a live way, so I would request all of you to write your doubts or your questions in that comment section, and I will make one more video on the basis of your doubts, where I will answer your doubts and I will tell you what is the thing, and I will answer each of your questions. So that third video or that fourth video will be announced in the group, where I will tell when that video will be coming. So with this, I sign off. I thank all of you who have come with me in this journey and cooperated with me. Although the things went a little bit off, but at the last we were able to do this work. I hope you might have able to learn something new from this course. If you really liked what I'm doing, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel. The name of the channel is Learning with Chandan, where I keep on posting the research based videos. So I will sign myself off, and I'm very thankful to all of you, and I hope you do best in your life.